Have you ever wondered what would happen if you looked at yourself without excuses, without masks, without the stories you've been telling all your life? Most books try to give you comfort. They offer step-by-step methods, positive affirmations, or philosophical arguments to make sense of the chaos. But this is not that book. It is something far more unsettling, a mirror. Jiddu Krishnamurti, who rejected gurus, religions, ideologies, and even his own authority, doesn't hand you beliefs to hold. He strips them away. He leaves you alone with the one thing most people fear, the truth of yourself. And if you dare to look, not tomorrow, not someday, but now, you may begin the most radical process a human being can undertake: the unconditioning of your mind. You are not free because you do not know yourself. And you do not know yourself because you are always judging, comparing, analyzing, defending, escaping, becoming. Krishnamurti's diagnosis is simple, but it cuts like a knife. All conflict, all violence, all suffering originates not out there, not in politics, not in religion, not in economics, but here, in the restless machinery of the human mind. Those outer battles are only shadows of the inner war. Look closely. You are afraid. You are conditioned. You are chasing and running at the same time. You chase success, approval, love, pleasure, power. You run from failure, shame, loneliness, emptiness, the feeling that your life has no meaning. And you never stop. Think about it. The CEO who builds a billion-dollar company only to confess he feels nothing when he gets there. His mind was chasing a horizon that moved further away with every step. The couple who stay together not out of love, but out of fear of being alone, fighting, blaming, resenting, yet terrified of silence. The teenager scrolling through social media at 3 a.m., comparing herself to airbrushed strangers, convinced she is not enough, even though she is seeing illusions. The parent who sacrifices everything for the family, but deep down is running from his own emptiness, using busyness as an escape from the question, who am I, really? This is the tragedy Krishnamurti points to. We mistake motion for freedom, but we are running in circles, prisoners of fear, comparison, and desire. You defend yourself endlessly. You analyze yourself to death. You construct identities like masks. I am successful. I am spiritual. I am a good person. I am better. I am worse. But these are not you. They are stories, narratives. And you cling to them because facing life without them feels unbearable. And still, the question waits in the silence you avoid. Who am I when all masks, all stories, all comparisons fall away? That question terrifies most people because it has no easy answer. Yet Krishnamurti insists, until you dare to sit with it, not tomorrow, not someday, but now, you will remain unfree, endlessly chasing, endlessly escaping, endlessly suffering. 10 key themes of Krishnamurti's work. 1. Self-knowledge is the beginning of freedom. To know yourself is the beginning of all wisdom. But what you know about yourself are stories. I am successful. I am spiritual. I am wounded. I am not enough. These are fragments of memory and conditioning stitched into an identity. You defend them fiercely because without them, you would feel like nothing. Think of the person who clings to their career title. Strip it away and they are terrified. Or the person who identifies as a victim of past wounds. To question that narrative feels like an attack on their very existence. Krishnamurti's radical point is this: none of that is you. Freedom begins only when you observe your thoughts and emotions without judgment. Don't justify, don't condemn, don't explain, just watch. When you do, the mask begins to slip. The false dissolves. And what is left is not a story but pure seeing. 2. The mind is addicted to becoming. You are always trying to become something. Look at your life. You are always reaching. More money, more respect, more success, more love, more peace, more spirituality. Even your spiritual practices are infected with ambition, meditating not to sit in silence, but to become enlightened. A CEO works for decades to build an empire, then feels empty at the top. A spiritual seeker chases gurus and retreats like trophies. Both are escaping themselves. Krishnamurti calls this the addiction to becoming. It keeps you running in circles, never arriving, because you are always postponing life to some imagined future. The only cure is to stop. Face your fear, your loneliness, your craving without escape. The moment you do, the chase breaks. Silence enters. 3. Freedom is not the end. It's the beginning. Most seekers want methods. Give me steps. Tell me what to practice. Krishnamurti gives you nothing. Because to follow a method is already to surrender freedom to authority. Truth is a pathless land. Picture it. No belief, no ideology, no guru, no sacred text to lean on. Just you alone with yourself. For most, that feels unbearable, like falling into an abyss. But Krishnamurti insists that abyss is the doorway. Groundlessness is freedom itself. Real freedom is not the reward after the journey. It is the ground you stand on when all illusions collapse. 4. The observer is the observed. When you say, "I am angry," who is the I that observes? Western psychology teaches you to manage emotions as though a separate self controls the inner world. Krishnamurti destroys this illusion. There is no self apart from the anger, the fear, the jealousy. The observer is part of the observed. Try it. When fear arises, don't analyze, don't name, don't fight. Just look at it. The separation collapses, and in that instant, fear dissolves. Like a child afraid of the dark, the moment the light switches on, the fear is gone. Not because the child fought it, but because the illusion was seen through. 5. Education is conditioning, unless it awakens intelligence. Krishnamurti saw modern schools as factories. Children are drilled to obey bells, memorize facts, compete for grades, and measure their worth by external approval. They graduate clever, but conditioned, perfectly trained to fit into a sick society. He created schools not to build workers, but free human beings. For him, real education was not about IQ or achievement, but about awakening intelligence, the ability to observe without bias, to feel deeply, to think independently, to love without possession, to act without fear. Without this, what we call education is just programming. It produces efficient machines, not whole human beings. 6. Fear is born from time. Fear is never in the present. It is always in the imagination of what might happen or the memory of what has. A man fears losing his job not because he has lost it, but because he imagines the future collapse. A woman fears betrayal not because it's happening, but because the past warns her it could repeat. Fear is time projected into thought. If you live fully in the present, fear cannot exist. But almost no one lives there. They live in what if and if only. That is why fear governs their lives. 7. Desire creates conflict. Desire itself is not wrong. But when desire dominates, it breeds contradiction. You want success and peace, love and control, freedom and security. These desires clash, and out of contradiction comes conflict. Most people live trapped in this war. They call it normal life, but it is constant inner friction. Krishnamurti does not say suppress desire. He says watch it. See how it arises. Feel the way it twists you. In that awareness, desire loses its grip, and conflict loosens. 8. Authority corrupts truth. Whether political, religious, or spiritual, authority breeds dependency. You hand over responsibility for truth to a guru, a priest, a therapist, a politician. And once you depend, you can be manipulated. That is why Krishnamurti rejected all authority, even his own. He refused to be your guru. He insisted that truth must be discovered, not inherited. The moment you follow someone else's path, it is no longer truth. It is conditioning in disguise. 9. Silence is intelligence. The modern mind is addicted to noise, endless thought, comparison, worry. Silence terrifies people because in silence there are no distractions to hide behind. But Krishnamurti shows, in silence, not forced by discipline, but natural silence, the mind is clear. This silence is not empty. It is alive. It is awareness itself. And in that stillness, insight emerges that no book or system can give. 10. Love without attachment. What most people call love is need. Possession. Dependency. I love you because I need you. That is not love. It is fear dressed up. True love asks nothing. It does not bind. It gives without demanding. It does not say yours or mine. When the mind is free of fear, when it is silent, when it is whole, love appears. And that love has no opposite. It is not the love that begins in romance and ends in divorce. Not the love that suffocates in jealousy or fades in boredom. It is a love beyond possession, and therefore a love that cannot die. Most people are terrified of this because when the masks fall, so does the self they have spent a lifetime protecting. But in that nakedness lies the only thing worth finding: freedom. This is not a book that gives you answers. It is a book that interrogates you. Page after page, it throws questions at you that sound simple at first, but cut deeper the longer you sit with them. Am I actually aware of my thoughts, or am I just reacting automatically like a machine? Most people would quickly say, "Of course I'm aware of my thoughts." But look closer. How many of your daily decisions are driven by habits you never chose, cultural conditioning you never questioned, fears you never confronted? Think of the man who yells at his children the same way his father yelled at him, swearing he would never be like that, yet carrying on the very script he inherited. That is not freedom. That is programming. Can I face fear without escaping into distraction, pleasure, or belief? Fear is everywhere. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of not being enough, fear of death. Most people never face it directly. They drown it in alcohol, bury it in work, numb it with scrolling, or cover it with religious hope. Fear is never defeated that way. It is simply dressed up, waiting in the dark. To face fear without escape means to sit with the raw panic in your chest and not run from it. Almost no one dares to do this, and that's why fear owns them. Do I really want freedom, or do I secretly just want comfort, validation, and success? It's easy to say you want to be free, but look at your life. Do you stay in a job you hate because of the paycheck? Do you swallow your truth to avoid rejection? Do you live for likes, promotions, applause? If so, what you crave is not freedom, but comfort disguised as success. Krishnamurti asks, isn't that just another cage? Who am I when all comparisons, all achievements, all masks fall away? Imagine stripping yourself of every identity, job title, nationality, relationship status, achievements, failures, beliefs. What would remain? Most people panic at this thought. Without their labels, they feel like nothing. But maybe that nothing is the truth. What happens if I look at myself without defense? This is perhaps the hardest question. Most of us live in self-defense mode, rationalizing, blaming, pretending. We excuse our cruelty as stress, our envy as motivation, our selfishness as survival. But what if we dropped all defenses and looked at ourselves nakedly? Would we dare admit how afraid, insecure, and dependent we really are? Most books give you tools. They give you a system, a method, a path. This book does the opposite. It takes everything away. It doesn't strengthen your ego, it exposes it. It doesn't give you comfort, it burns you. It doesn't add more noise to your head, it forces you into silence. That's why it feels more like a fire than a book. And like fire, it destroys. But in that destruction, it purifies. Think of the person who has built their entire identity on success. When they lose their job, they collapse because the mask is gone. Or the person who thought love was possession. When their partner leaves, they break because they confused attachment with love. This book strips these illusions before life strips them for you. Krishnamurti calls what remains a light that needs no outside source. Not success, not validation, not ideology. Just a quiet intelligence untouched by fear. Yes, the book is too abstract for many. Yes, it offers no path, no clear results, no comfort. People want 10 steps, not silence. They want methods, not mirrors. Reading it feels like staring into a riddle that refuses to solve itself. And that's exactly why people dismiss it. But Krishnamurti's point is devastatingly clear. The craving for systems, for answers, for guarantees, is the very trap that keeps you blind. There is no final answer. There is only attention. And in full attention, illusions collapse. This is not a book you finish. It is a book that finishes you, if you allow it. Every page is not advice but a mirror. Every line is not comfort but a test. Most people put it down because they feel exposed. They don't want to see themselves without their masks. But if you stay with it, you are confronted by the only invitation that matters. Will you observe yourself, now, without judgment, without escape? If you dare, you will see beyond fear, beyond conditioning, beyond the endless chase of becoming. You will see that freedom is not in achievement, not in spiritual seeking, not in comparison. Freedom is in seeing. Not a self-made freedom, not a promised paradise, not a belief, but a stillness, an intelligence, an awakening that is timeless, not yours, not mine, but human, eternal. And once you touch it, you can never go back.